Greetings, guys. What's going on? Unoptimized Fool here with another weekly episode of the World of Warcraft news. Now, again, each week we cover major things that happen inside of World of Warcraft. Now, we only have 4 articles to talk about, which is our usual norm, right? Now, last week we had over 10 articles to discuss. Now, usually after a busy week, we have a small week, but I did mention that if 11.2 was announced, obviously it would be a big week. But obviously, that never happened. Now, we did just have a Microsoft event happened on Sunday, but World of Warcraft wasn't mentioned at all. Now, they didn't hint at anything like that, so usually if they don't hint at anything before the event, especially if it's for a Microsoft event, usually there's no World of Warcraft content. Usually, Blizzard says, by the way, there'll be some WoW content here. Make sure you tune in, right? Obviously, with BlizzCons, we expect content, but for Microsoft stuff, it's up in the air if we're going to see WoW stuff. So obviously, we didn't see anything, and it's probably going to be around after 11.1.7 launches, which we actually have a date, by the way. I'll talk about that in this episode, where we're going to see 11.2 announcement. But again, guys, this is the weekly episode. And one thing before we dive into it, the Spotters Guild, right? We're still actively recruiting. We do raids, right? We actually are doing the normal skip now. We're breezing through that. I think we only had 1 or 2 wipes the whole normal run. We went pretty flawless, and then we have been going into heroic lately, right? Now, obviously, I'll spare some details because obviously Necro does an amazing job with the Raidly update video per week, so definitely check that out. But yeah, we made some progress this week though, so definitely check it out. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the week, and I will show you guys some news here in a second. Alright guys, the first piece of news I want to talk about has to do with the puzzling Cartel Chips. Now again, this system is here to help you get some of the gear that you're either having trouble finding in your vault, or your just rolls are terrible. Like me, I roll terribly in raids, and I have to wait for my vault to ever give me anything. Now, this system has been live for a while. We actually just saw last week, right? At the beginning of last week, again on Tuesday, we saw that we can get our second piece, right? Because you have to get 3 Cartel Chips. We got 3 the first week, and then now we just get 1 per week. So it's been actually out for a month now, if I do the math correctly on that. So now you can get your second piece. Now obviously there's best in slot pieces and stuff like that, but now you can get that. Now before, with this system, if you missed a week, you were just a week behind. There was no catch-up mechanic for this at all, right? And again, this game has given us a lot of catch-up mechanics, and I think catch-up mechanics are good. Again, some weeks you can't play, or can't put as much hours into it, right? Or maybe you're just playing a new game. We can play other games other than WoW. I mean, try telling me that, but I guess not. But Blizzard has finally reversed that decision. Now, starting this week, any missed week, say for example you missed 1 or 2 weeks, you'll now have that quest available. Now, obviously, you have to complete the quest before, and then once you complete that quest, again, you just have to kill 4 of the bosses inside of the raid on any difficulty. Once you turn in that quest, there will be a quest available if you still have some quests there for you to then go in. Obviously, then you have to fight 4, right? Now, obviously, this catch-up, right, isn't going to be, you can just catch up it all in 1 week, because obviously, there's only so many bosses per week. Now, again, definitely keep an eye on that, though. So you can't catch up all in 1 week, but at least you can now start catching back up to where everyone is now. So it's good that they added this catch-up mechanic. Again, it was kind of brutal where if you missed a week, you just missed a week. You were behind. So it's good to see that now they added this in, and that's going live starting today. Alright, guys, let's go and travel over to the classic era of World of Warcraft. Now, as you guys know, Mists of Pandaria Classic is being launched on July 21st, with pre-patch actually hitting the 1st. And by the way, guys, the Spotters have a nice event going on. 2 events actually around these launches. Now, nothing is set in stone right now, but be on the lookout. On Wednesday or Friday, you'll see an announcement being posted in the Discord and on X. So definitely check that out. I think you guys are going to be excited for that one. But again, MoP Classic launches July 21st. And there has been a shakeup. There's been a system change. There's been a hashtag change to the system, right? Now, in Mists of Pandaria, we saw the release of Looking for Raid. Now, back in 2011, Blizzard saw data saying not many people were raiding. This was actually the start of World of Warcraft being a little bit more of a treadmill system, right? We saw Dungeon Finder in Lich King. They added LFR to kind of fix that, also to teach some mechanics. Now, as you guys know, LFR is a little bit controversial. Not many people like it. A lot of people say it doesn't even teach anything. I agree with that. I honestly think LFR doesn't really teach you much. It's kind of just stand there and participate and you'll get content. But inside of MoP Classic, there is now a change where looking for raid is no longer coming out. It's not going to be released with Mr. Pandaria Classic, and it's actually being replaced with Celestial Dungeons. So what's this mean, right? So obviously, no more looking for raid. Now, obviously, they made this decision because more people raid now, so there'll be more people in these normal and heroic runs. But they aren't just totally removing the LFR gear and the appearances, they're actually moving it over to the Celestial Dungeons. So it's going to be a 5-man dungeon, just think of a typical dungeon, and you go in and you fight raid bosses doing raid mechanics. So it's going to be harder than a normal dungeon, right? So it's not going to be a cakewalk, but it's still going to be LFR, so it's definitely going to be dumbed down from the normal experience you would get in the raid. Now, obviously, as each patch goes in with Mr. Pandaria Classic over the year, each Celestial Dungeon will open up for the content that it's provided. Obviously, not all the Celestial Dungeons will be open at the beginning. It's just going to be the one that matches the raid tier, right? So you can still get your LFR appearances if you don't have time to raid with people. Again, getting a lot of people together and raiding at a specific time is a bit hard, so that's why I use LFR, mostly the classic systems, or just in general in like smaller capacities. So it's good that at least the system's morphing and not getting totally removed. But I also saw some rumors that this system might eventually come into retail, right? If people really like it, because obviously LFR is kind of just run for transmog, or if you want to level your alts. I mean, there's better ways to do it, honestly, getting item level for your alts. So is that system outdated? I'm not too sure. Again, I want to hear people's opinions about stuff. Again, every article I talk about, I want to get your opinion about this stuff, because again, I think it's super important. All right, guys. It's here, the yap about the renown system inside the raid. Now, obviously, each week we get a new rank, right? And last week we saw rank 15. Now, obviously, today, as the servers become live, rank 16 will be available, but we're talking about the past, right? So rank 15 came into play. Now, with this one, it's just cosmetic based. There's no power increase here, but next week, that's definitely going to change. Now, for this week, though, for the past week here, we have rank 15, which gives us a cool, different system. Now, it's a modification of the system. So basically, before we would get these chips for cosmetic items. Now, again, these are just cosmetics; they're not for actual gear, right? Just for the looks of these items that you would get in the raid. Now, obviously, these chips were very limited. But now, if you can kill one-armed bandit, a one-armed bandit now has a chance, be it low, to drop these coins that you can then exchange for cosmetic items. Again, you can exchange these cosmetic items in the top of the hotel inside the raid instance. You have to be in the raid, and it's going to be at the top next to the item upgrader, right? And you can just exchange these for weapon cosmetics and cosmetics in general from the raid. Now, obviously, this is just to help with transmog and stuff like that. Again, it won't help with power, but now you get more of these coins, so now you're not limited to, I think, the 3 that we've had before. Maybe it's 2, but eventually we'll just have 3, and then of course one-armed bandit is able to drop some per kill, right? So if you get lucky, then you can go over and exchange these counterfeit coins. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know about this. Again, no power increase this week, but still, it'll help you get some of those transmogs that you wanted, and hopefully your RNG is pretty good. Alright guys, the last article I want to talk about, again, we've only had 4 articles this week. Again, it's a very slow week, right? Again, we had a very busy last week, so it makes sense that this week's still a bit slower, but that's okay, because this one's a doozy. Now, this information actually came live last Monday, not the Monday just yesterday, but the Monday before that, and it didn't make the weekly episode because, again, any news that comes out on Monday doesn't make the video because, again, right, I do all my recording and editing on that day. So unfortunately, this really big piece of news came out right before the last weekly episode. But 11.1.7 officially has a launch date, right? June 17th. That means we're officially a week away from the launch of that patch. Now, what's inside that patch? We have a lot of stuff, right? We have Lore Walker Cho with the 3 new stories talking about the World Soul Saga, kind of catching people up. We also have the Rotation Assistant, where it's going to help you with your rotation. Now, it's not going to be best in slot, you're not going to be a Mythic Raider, but it's going to help you learn some classes. We also have the one button, basically one button plays your class. Again, these are mostly for people just, getting into a class, maybe just seeing how a normal rotation would look with some cooldowns, right? And also, for alts that we don't care about, we're just going to hit one button rotation, right? Which will make things easier for our alts. We also have overcharged delves coming out, right? This is a new system for delves, which makes them a little bit harder. We also get some borrowed power, a belt, right? Now this belt is going to be upgradable, I think up to, I believe before it was a 694, but I've seen 700, right? So we're already in the 700, so keep an eye on that. But it's definitely going to be upgradable per week. We also have a Titan console inside of the delve that you can upgrade some abilities inside the delves to make them a little bit easier. Think of like how horrific visions work. Now again, all of these systems are coming alive in a 0.7 patch, so we're getting pretty good content for a 0.7 patch, right? So definitely look forward to that. But yeah, it didn't make the video last week because unfortunately it came out just before the video went live. Alright guys, that wraps up the news for this week. Again, 4 articles, not too many, but we still talked about some good pieces of news. Now again, if you guys are noticing any missing things that you think are important for World of Warcraft, definitely let me know in the comments. I try to get everything inside of this episode, but sometimes I do miss some news. Again, I try not to miss the big news, but if you let me know, I'll definitely include it next week if it is an important piece of news to know. Now, obviously, I'm always looking for improvements for the show, so definitely let me know down in the comments too. And as well as if you're always wanting some more World of Warcraft content, I post 5 days a week on my personal X page and YouTube page, diving into news just like this, but a little bit of deeper dive, right? This is more of like a kind of like a brief overview of all the news, right? But I go into deeper dives on my channel, so definitely check that out if you really want to dive into some World of Warcraft content. But again, it's good seeing you every week, and I am Unoptimized Fool, and I'll see you guys next week.